furthest traveler from 2,886 miles all the way from Seattle, Washington, to Nederland.
Hey, how you doing? Yeah, I am known for physical security and lockpicky stuff and things like that. And we're not going to talk about any of that here today, because if you wanted to learn about that, Patrick and the whole Oak City Locksport crew, they got you covered. In fact, yeah, who went by the lockpick area, right? I love to see it. I love seeing it's kind of a really cool toe in the water for security and people who don't know a lot about InfoSec or hacking. We've heard the story so many times. So I was like, oh, I brought my colleague from this or that other division or academic, or and like, wow, I get it. I understand why you would want to explore systems and see how they break. I understand why you'd want to know if there's a risk instead of having it just be covered up and like not ever talked about. So I love seeing that kind of trend continue, even though I'm not often in the lockpick villages anymore. I don't know what I do anymore. I just kind of oversee projects and send a lot of emails and say yes or say no, uh, running stuff. And when you think about what your career really is and the choices you have to make, this talk, well, you'll see where it comes from. It speaks to the questions that I think we should be asking ourselves more, some of which I don't know if I should have asked them more or talked about them more, but no time like the present. As the Japanese say, the best time to eat an edible was 2 hours ago. The second best time is now. So don't lose the opportunity, right? Also, not to lose an opportunity, I have been a bit of a pill to some of you occasionally this weekend and other times, and you deserve to understand. I have always had challenges with audio processing. It's just something that's developed over time, and the older I get, the more crotchety I get, the harder it is. And especially with a billion muzzle reports over the years, as my bio says, I enjoy loud times with lead acceleration. Remember, hearing loss is cumulative and permanent. So if you see me in an environment and someone's trying to talk to me and someone else walks up and also starts trying to talk to me, and then a third person tries to talk to all of us, I will occasionally get ornery. It's not about you. It's because it actually breaks my brain. So there's my disclosure about that. If you want to be mindful of it, it helps me. But otherwise, it's not you. It's me. Yeah, please tell me if you can't hear me. Again, we're rocking the mic and everything. My slides are all images. There is no text, so listening is key. Sorry that some of it's kind of just bullshit stock art. I don't like using AI, so I search for the best that I can. But oh, thank you. That's not a dig at people. Like sometimes AI can generate exactly what you want in the moment, but sometimes I'm an old person. I'm an old fart, man. So you got the old stuff. In a way, this talk is about asking yourselves critical questions before you embark on an endeavor, particularly any endeavors that might carry risk. So if you were planning a major journey or something, and there's risk involved, you might, let's say, be planning a hike. Maybe you're going to go up like a mountainside. You're say, all right, I enjoy hiking, and I've really been wanting to, take this one trail. It's a pretty good challenge. Going into it, you should ask yourself, what am I going to do if I hit my physical limit? Am I prepared to stop and turn around? You might be part way up the hill, and you're like, phew, this weather is turning, and I did not bring my all weather gear. When am I going to stop? Because my health is at risk, right? When will I stop and turn around? Asking yourself in the moment when shit's already sideways is usually not going to get the best result in you calculating risk and reward. Casinos, right? Like again, wife and her father professional poker players. Like a lot of people go to casinos, like, oh man, risking money gambling at a casino. Really smart people don't go in without a plan. They ask themselves, how much am I willing to risk and lose before I call it and walk away? Everybody who's ever gotten themselves in a really bad gaming debt probably did so because they didn't have a predefined stopping condition. They were like, no, this table's hot. Let's rock and roll. I'm always, the odds are in my favor. Well, it's not about the odds in the moment. The odds in the moment might look great or bad or cloud your judgment. Going in with your ideas and your values and your actual stopping condition predefined is a smart play. Why does it apply to us here? What we're going to talk about today is the question, what work would I be willing to do, I being you, be willing to do to earn enough money to have significant ramifications in my life and the life of those around me, what would I be willing to do and what wouldn't I be willing to do for that money? Because the more the chips are down and the more you get into a career, you say yes to this decision, that decision, all of a sudden you turn around and you're like, oh shit, do I actually like what I'm doing? Because you didn't go in with a plan. And a lot of this is inspired by Adam. Did anybody see Adam Ariano's talk this morning? Show of hands. Did anybody see Adam last year? There's not so last year's talk. Their talk last year. Their talk was called "An Idealist's Guide to Making Change Happen," and it was lovely. I had never met Adam before. I was completely enwrapped the whole time. It was wonderful. There were loads of parts I liked, and one point with which I substantially disagreed. There was a line. Is Adam in here? I don't know. I don't know. Oh, all right. I think they had to dip out, but that's why got you on the recording. So the point they said, because they were in the service, right? They were in uniform, but they said if you don't like the army, join the army. You got a problem with cops, you don't like the police, join the police. Change it from the inside. And that's part of why they went to the Marines. That's probably a lot of people might idealistically do some things. And I sat there in that talk and I was like, well, that's dog shit advice. I thought it was wildly infeasible. And I was like, man, I was really clicking along with every point you were making, but man, that one chaps me. And I couldn't quite get my head around like why I was having this reaction until I thought about it. And I was like, honestly, I brainstormed it. I was like, the real zinger is if you don't like the police, run for city council. If you don't like what the army's doing, I don't know, run for the Senate, something like that. And I kind of like, oh, I got my one-liner, ha ha ha. I'll whip that out on social media, or I would just tell Adam. I might have even emailed Adam about it at some point. And the more I thought about this, I'm like, again, there's a problem here. It's an idealistic view that simplifies. It's very reductive and says, well, I can just bring change if I just get into the right spot. There's a key element left out of this discussion in all angles, which is large systems have a way of consuming the individual. Large systems bend an individual to their will. Whether you're talking about policing, education, these are all screenshots, by the way, from a TV show. If you're old enough, you may have seen a show called The Wire. It's an old show at this point, right? And it's a fascinating, each season of the show, I'm not a huge evangelist of the show. There's some people who are like, it's like their favorite show ever. And they talk to you like it's Breaking Bad. And they're like, you have to stop everything you're doing right now. Watch all 7 seasons. It shows all angles of crime and policing and school and education and business and political corruption and the news. But really the through line for the entire show is that every individual who thinks they were an individual with their own free choice is not. Because whatever system they're in, whether that is literally organized crime or organized crime with a badge, organized crime in a classroom, like the system changes you unless you are really, really secure in who you are. Now, you might say, I am secure in who I am. I am an individual. I am a hacker. I have my peer group. I'm an outsider. I don't listen to that bullshit that gets handed down to me. I bring my values. Like I am the one who can make the system better. Recruiters and interviewers might even use that line on you, right? They might make that argument if you're hesitant about an opportunity. Can you, though? That's what we're going to talk about. And there's a few different stories I've got here. One is from somebody I know named Nate. This is Nate Fick. I don't know if anybody, this is personally not Nate Fick. This is, he's seen on TV here, portrayed by Stark Sands. So Nate Fick is a person that I've run into a few times, and his life is fascinating. He was a student at Dartmouth, right? He was literally a liberal arts student studying classics. And then he joined the Recon Marines. This is Nate in overseas. He was deployed to Afghanistan. He was deployed to Iraq. When he was in Iraq, that's actually what you saw on HBO. That was a show called Generation Kill. It was a small run on HBO that portrays his and his platoon's life. He wrote a book, which is an absolute freaking banger. It's called One Bullet Away. And when he got out, literally, like he used the GI Bill. He went to Harvard Business School. He went to the Harvard Kennedy School. He got his MPA, his MBA. He was the CEO of Endgame, and he went on to become the U.S. Department of State's like cyber ambassador, basically. And he's a brilliant guy. I enjoy talking with him. It's funny, I've actually met several people from Generation Kill. I met Rudy at like firearms events and stuff. Never got to meet Evan, the reporter, who is no longer with us, actually. But Nate tells a story in his book about being on campus at Dartmouth. And there was a recruiter, like on a career day type thing. There were, various people come work here. And there was a military recruiter. There was someone from the Marines, right? And the people who were like, again, it's Dartmouth, it's a liberal arts school. There were people kind of getting in this recruiter's face, including at least one, I believe it's a faculty member, he reports. He was like, why are you here? Basically trying to take the flower of our youth and turn them into killers. Why are you doing this? This is, take our nice liberal kids. And the recruiter, who of course is chosen for that job because they're good at talking to people, the recruiter said, no, ma'am, I am not here trying to change your children. I am here because I need your children to change the Marines. Your children at this Dartmouth school will liberalize the Marines. And the recruiter didn't mean politically liberalizing it, but he meant, making the Marines reflective of the broad civilian populace. And that was one of the things that Nate was like, all right, I'm listening. And eventually, he went recon. He was a forward area operator. I followed up with Nate. I said, do you actually think that happened or not? He'll hear his thoughts later in this talk. But even the military and the police, these are extreme examples, right? There are like literally legal ramifications if you don't follow orders, if you don't fulfill your contract that you signed up for. I think they're an imperfect analogy to what we're talking about here today. I think the much more interesting question is young people getting job offers in tech, right? Many of you out there are going to get really lucrative things dangled in front of you. You're going to get approached by the Googles and the Metas and the Amazons of the world, or heaven forbid, the Palantirs or some other supremely evil corporations. And they're going to, like, literally, there's some work that you're like, I would never do, like AI. Like some people out there, like, I could never pay enough money to be paid to do AI shit. And there are, in fact, like huge job offers because they got to get somebody. That's the hot thing now. They dangle enough money in front of you. And before you know it, maybe you are signing on the line and saying, yeah, well, I'll do that for a little bit because you justify it. You say, well, yeah, what I'm doing is terrible. But maybe I'll firebomb the data center on my way out the door. But until I do that, I'm going to be putting like my kid through school, or I'm going to be paying for this person's hormones, or I'm going to move my friends and family and make my life and my community safer, right? That's how we justify all these decisions. A really different story, not service in uniform, but it's a corporate story that I'll share with you. It's my friend Johnny. So some of you in the hacker world may know Johnny Christmas. Johnny and I have known each other for a billion years. And I, was hanging out with him pretty recently. Like we were in Chicago, we're hanging out at Carl's house, and Carl had the barbecue, and I was like, Johnny, where the hell are you these days? You don't just go on vacation permanently, even though that's what you seem to be doing on social media. I think you still have a job. He's like, yeah, I work for Kraft. I was like, Kraft, like the food? He's like, let's slow down. Let's not call it food. He's like, we make the best edible microplastics. And not no shade at Johnny. You'll hear it. He's, hey, HR people at Kraft. No, he really spoke to the company in a really neat way. He's like, no, internally, everyone understands we make the best of the worst food. Like it is ultra processed food. It is not like you're not finding it at a farmer's market, but he took a job working there for really interesting reasons. Because when he said that, I probably said the same thing to him that a billion people have said. All his friends are like, what are you fucking working for them for? Aren't they doing evil shit? Because there's loads of criticisms. Like, yes, it's ultra processed food. A lot of it is not, nutrient dense. A lot of it is high calorie. A lot of it, blah blah blah. He was talking about how like they get criticism for, oh, do you have dealings with other countries? You work in China and Russia. He's like, yeah, we do business in Russia. You know what we do? We have factories in Russia that make baby food for Russian babies. He's like, I'm going to let that one slide because ultimately he was surprised at about the kind of shit they don't do at Kraft. He went in there kind of, I think, on a favor to somebody. He's like, yeah, I'll take the meeting. And he did some research. And the more he was talking to them, he's like, wow, so y'all actually don't do a lot of the weird crap that the big brands really do. That's amazing. And his decision matrix, not only was it, it's a responsible job, it's a good job, it's a big paying job, but his like, look, things are really bad right now in this country and in this world. Kraft stock is down. I don't know if you know that. Most big businesses, like, they're all record profits. No, he's like, Kraft stock is actually, it's struggling. He's like, well, I was like, why is that? Are people trying to eat healthier? And he's like, no, people are just trying to eat. Like, people don't have money. Food banks are stretched thin as it is. And the people who are just barely hanging on to actually putting anything on their children's plates at night are going down to Walmart and buying like craft packaged food because it's what they can afford. And a huge part of his job is protecting manufacturing. As a pen tester, my company and my team, we've done penetration work, we've done security assessments on agra and food supply chain work. And you feel it. You really do feel it when you're like, man, if somebody in the security world isn't out here doing this, that is, I mean, just like tip of the spear attack for nation states. It's not going to be, oh, we're going to use a virus to blow up a dam or something. Like, no, if another foreign nation wants to mess with us, they're either going to sow discontent over social media, which check that box, that's been happening for far too long, or they're going to make people question and not, use the food supply, like screwing with the food supply. There was an amazing talk. I think it was not recorded. It was probably a Sky Talk at DEF CON, where it was basically like a embedded systems hacker and a farmer. Like literally, Jesse was up there, I think, in like bib overalls, possibly with or without a shirt, and his John Deere cap. And they were talking. They were like, "Yeah, so all your farms, like all the farms that make all of our food, these are all computer controlled tractors. Like there might be a guy in the seat with the seat sensor, otherwise it won't run. But these are on a track, like they're GPS and like they're bloop, bloop, they're putting seeds in the ground." He was like, if you attack that, if you plant all the seeds for a growing season 6 inches too deep, no one's going to know until 8 months from then or when they're harvesting and like, oh crap, we have no yield. Everything goes into chaos. There is your devastation socially right there. So protecting the food supply, Johnny's like, yeah, I'll do it. And sure enough, and he had stopping conditions, right? He literally went in with the kind of, I said, why did you think about this when you went in there? He's like, yeah, honestly, my stopping conditions were if they break their commitment to reduce reliance on high fructose corn syrup, which was a thing they were really promoting at the time. Now, again, I mean, is that greenwashing? Do they care? Do they not? It was good for the market. But he's like, that sold me. If they break that commitment, don't want to do it. And if they add anything to food that would make it more addictive. And we're not talking just about like hyper palatable food, which anybody who does cooking, like it's slider bars. You're sliding around carbs and salt and fats and so forth and sugars and sweet, which, yeah, it triggers the brain in unhealthy ways. But do you know that right now there are food scientists in the world? There's enough evil shit in the world. I'm just going to give you one more thing. You might have a loved one or a family member who has gone on a journey of health, and they may have done it with the assistance of, if I use terms like Mounjaro, Ozempic, tirzepatide. These are GLP agonists that literally fix the body's food response, and it's a gastric slowing, and it fixes how your body processes food. It's made a huge difference in a bunch of people's lives, many of whom I know personally. There are food researchers out there who are tasked right now with finding breakthrough molecules that will fuck this process and make people start overeating again. That's like their job. They're just doing this for research, for companies that are like, yeah, our junk food sales are down. How do we fix it? Kraft's not doing that. And Johnny was like, yeah, if we become like big tobacco, including ingredients that have nothing to do with the food just to make people unhealthy, I'm out. It's a very noble, it was a really sweet conversation I was having with him. He was like, I can't really handle deceitful corporate behavior, devious behavior, we might even say, right? Yeah, dishonesty is a real hard line for him. Dishonesty is a real hard line for me, actually. Sorry. Anyway, Johnny took the job, and I believe in him. He's a really good guy. But you better imagine every time I'm talking to him in the future, like, we're going to check in with each other. I'll be like, hey, you still reading those reports? You just cashing the paychecks. What's going on at Kraft? And we're going to put each other's feet to the fire. We're going to hold each other's values and hold each other's accountable. That's really what I want you to think about and participate in. Hackers are very idealistic people, right? Again, we are strong-willed, we are strong-minded, we are capable of tremendous things, right? Hackers are also very idealistic about how much they can do all at once. If I could have a show of hands, how many people have a bunch of projects you've started and have not completed? Yeah. This overextending of ourselves and overestimating of ourselves, it impacts other areas, right? It impacts our ability to respond to other people's needs in our lives. It impacts our ability to even anticipate other people's needs, to satisfy other needs, to be in community, to have the values that we espouse in our hearts, to actually live them and bear them out. Many people want to be there so desperately for everyone. They really care. It's not because you're bad that you might make fool decisions. It's you want to be the person who can say, yeah, I'll just say yes to that. This is a need, I'll fill it. This is a need, I'll fill it. If you live in a big enough house with a bunch of people, you're like, you know what? I'll do the dishes today. I'll do the dishes, and we have to do laundry. I'll change the laundry before. Yeah, vacuuming. I can do the vacuuming. And the pet. Oh yeah, well of course you're at the meetings and you're at the job. I'll take care of the pets. I'll cut the grass. I can. Yeah, I'll mow the lawn. You want that oil change? Oh, I got to pick you up at the airport. And you say yes to all these things. One or more of these things will not be done to the best of your abilities, or possibly at all. Many of you, I could also ask for show of hands. Your body will tell you, right? It's not just like post-con exhaustion. I mean, if you saw Base, her talk today, she was talking about burnout. It's not happening just because of corporate evil. A lot of times we run ourselves ragged because of our own idealistic nature. We're like, I can show up for everyone because I care about everyone, and caring is enough because it's in here, lives in here, and I'm just gonna, yes, I can do it. Your body keeps the score, and your body will tell you. Again, going back to Nate and Generation Kill, there was a scene which really illustrates him as a leader. So there's a firefight on a roadside. They've contact with the enemy, and engagement. They finally get out of there, and he's talking to his platoon, and there's two cats from his platoon. He's like, I think the Navy corpsman was like, Lieutenant, you got to talk. You got to talk to. He's like, PFC, what's the situation? And his buddy, his battle buddy, is like, sir, he's fine. He took an inch of shrapnel. He tourniqueted himself. He got back up on his gun. He was returning fire. And Nate is like looking at him. He's like, and he looks at the corpsman. He's like, I don't want him here if he's combat ineffective. I understand that he thinks he can fight. Give me a no BS assessment. And in the end, he stays with the squad. He stays with the platoon. He's there. But that's the act of a leader. The leader has to see through, like, is somebody's idealism like writing checks that their body actually can't fulfill? In civilian land, how many of you know the axiom, right? You hear it every time you fly. If the oxygen masks deploy, what do you do? What do you do first? Secure your own mask before assisting those around you. Because if you pass out due to hypoxia, which happens very quickly, I don't know if anyone's ever been on a plane that had the mask deploy for reasons, right? Do you ever just sometimes they accidentally pop out and they're like, what do I fucking do? And because the plane's not shaking, everyone just looks at each other. It's like, no, put them on. You don't know why it happened. You'll know why it's happened. If a plane ever actually does a decompress, pilots will fly what are called escape routes. It's basically like nose down. You will think the plane is crashing because they're just racing to get below, 10,000 feet. But yeah, you will succumb to hypoxia very quickly. Put your mask on, then help others. Or as Adam said in their talk, right? Literally, change your socks. I had a blog post a billion years ago about how I just buy new socks for myself once a year for like Christmas, and I donate my old socks all the time. New socks do wonders, man. But yeah, if you're not taking care of yourself, you will not be able to show up for others. And if you are not mindful of yourself, you will not show up in that value proposition where you say, I'm going to go in, I'm going to make it happen. Lack of awareness of our limits is a double-edged sword in the hacker community. It makes us so inspiring and capable of amazing things where people, your average person, will be like, well, there's no way I could ever do that. And hackers bite off more than they can chew. And sometimes they swing for the fences and just freaking nail one. Every amazing project or talk or something that was considered unhackable or undoable, it started because somebody was over optimistic. They're like, I don't know my limits, that I can do this thing. That's amazing and I love it. And it can also cause us to lose our way. And the balancing act, the inflection point, is usually when we're trying to do everything on our own. Work with people who matter to you and whom you matter to. That is what gets all those unfinished projects across the finish line. And that is how you proceed forward into these unknown, risky territories where you are very much running the gamble of losing yourself, right? The only way to venture into these situations with great risk is to go in with your eyes fully opened. And in my world, that means those predefined stopping conditions. When is enough enough? And there's a high and a low mark for that, right? The low mark we talked about, like hey, if my corporation starts doing these evil things, I'm out. Okay, but all corporations will bend you eventually. Where's your high mark? You're going to get out then too? Why are you taking the job? We talked about, gambling. Let's actually make up an idea of someone going to a casino and they have $500 and they're trying to do something really noble. They're trying to pay for their child who needs like braces or something like that. They're like, all right, I got the estimate and the operation or the medical procedure that's going to cost $3,000. What a fantasy that would be in America. The doctor's going to take cash on the. By the way, you know that like if your insurance is like, oh, this is a $60,000 procedure, and you're like, oh, I can't cover it. Sometimes you can ask them, what's the cash price? And you will drop your jaw on the floor. They'll be like, oh, I mean, if you just want to pay it with a cash or a credit card, it's $5K. And you're like, a surgery? They're like, yeah. Welcome to America. We're fucked. Our medical system is a joke. But this person at the gambling tables, they're like, all right, if I get up to $3,000, which is why I'm here, I'm out. I don't care if I've just raked at 3,001, 3,000. I broke that $3,000 mark. I'm out. That's why I came here. I don't care how hot the table is or what free drinks I'm being served. I'm out. And of course, the low end. You have to go in saying, all right, I had $500. If I get down to $100 in my pocket, I still have to like get home and pay for my children's food this weekend before I go back to work on Monday. Have those stopping conditions predefined. It's no different when you are going into work for a big company. I think the only way you can ethically really work for a big entity is like being that person going into the casino. You have predefined stopping conditions. You say, if I make enough money to do what I want to do, literally, like I used to have this chart. My wife and I would look at like goal A and goal B. We called it financially. And like we would achieve, if we do this, well, we can step down. One of us could stop working. We do this, then both of us stop working. We had these otherwise you just might be the person who works forever, right? Know the future that you're trying to build and when you have hit it. Otherwise, you're going to turn around and be like, wow, I have one foot in the grave. Why am I still here? Because it's harder and harder to say no to those opportunities. The more you grow in a career, the more stuff you have. You're like, well, now I bought that motorcycle. I'm really into motorcycles, and like, well, now you're maintaining all those. Now I've started a family. I have these kids, and they're in school. There's more and more things they're going to tug at you that make you say, all right, I'm going to take that next career contract. I'm going to stay one more year. I'm going to do one more thing. All right, I'm going to move us to work in that horrible data center that's poisoning the water because it's for this cause, right? And when you are asked to compromise yourself so much that you hate what you become and what you're doing, that's going to happen by little degrees too. It never happens all at once. Go in with your eyes open. I told you I'd mention Nate again and that recruiter, right? I asked Nate very specifically and deliberately. I was like, so did your time in the Marines and you got out? Do you think it mattered? Do you think you made a difference? And he was like, for the military, yeah, in some ways. In some ways, it is important because the military can only recruit its leaders from within the ranks, right? It would be dangerous. This is the exact quote that he told me. For too much of a gulf to develop between the military and the society it purports to serve, right? These relations depend on our armed forces being representative and people participating not just because they have to out of desperation. So I think it was very noble. And in some ways, he's like, you could see that applying to corporations. Like companies are those which are representative of the population at large if they're going to operate successfully and we might say ethically for a long time. So yeah, I think it is important for many of you to take these job offers at huge tech firms that could potentially be doing something evil one day. Without any of you in the companies, eventually maybe even succeeding through the ranks, that guarantees these companies will be evil. But you merely accepting the offer, it doesn't guarantee the company is going to be good. And you have to keep your eyes open about it. That is my call to action to all of you. Going in with your eyes open, literally, if you accept an offer for a big firm, hell, even a small firm, who cares? It could be a little local law office or whatever. I want you, when you're like writing your acceptance letter, it's like, yeah, I'll take the job. Write 2 letters. You write the acceptance letter for them, and then you write a letter just for you. And that is where you write down your values and your goals. Why are you doing this? And what are your stopping conditions? When is enough going to be enough? And when is enough enough for evil things too? Like, I don't mean a note on your phone's notes app. I don't mean a text file on a hard drive. I don't mean a document in the cloud. Write a physical letter, print it out, put it in a safe, like next to your other important life documents. And then you set a calendar reminder once a year. Hell, we just had Labor Day. Yay, organizers and workers. Literally, with your friends and loved ones, the people you trust the most in this world, take the letter out once a year and read it together. Are you still doing what previous you would be happy with you doing? Or are you becoming a person that one day you wake up and you can't look at yourself in the mirror? Because it's going to sneak up on you. There's never going to be a contract slid across the table that's like, hi, want to bomb brown children for money? But one day you're going to wake up and you've written drone software. You've written AI targeting software that's literally just turning kids into ribbons. And why? Because, well, shit costs money. And you weren't told that when you walked in the door. And it happened by little degrees. Don't lose your moral compass. I want you, nay, I need you to keep showing up each and every day as the best versions of yourselves, the best person you can be for yourself and for all of us together. There's no like civil society meeting. There's no professional society. Like there's no Church of Wi-Fi aside, religious body where you can confess your sins in INFOSEC. There's no large standards body where we come together and discuss ethics. It is just a bunch of individuals. This whole industry is a young industry. We don't have like a medical review board and things like that, like surgeons do. We are the ones who have to look to each other. We are our peers. We are our confidants. We are the keepers of our best intentions and our brighter futures. We protect us. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much. I'm happy to talk. Yeah, that was a whole thing there. And a little shorter because last time I was really pushing it on the time. So I wanted to make sure that even if we had questions or stories or anything at all, you don't have to have anything to share. You can share it with me outside or we can just bullshit around. But yeah, just keep it in mind. Any questions or hands or no? Yeah, go for it. No, an article called Don't Get Distracted.
It is a journey about going through a military industrial complex and being like, oh, we're here to like do like spying Wi-Fi signals, and this stuff is so cool. And oh, they're using this to find people through walls, shoot them.
Oh wow. So yeah, but by the way, yeah, learning like what human meat sacks are moving in a building by the Wi-Fi analysis. Now, is this a person's biographical article or is it like a fictional? Okay. And what was the title again? Don't Get Distracted. And the author? Oh, it's a Rubicon talk. Okay. Caleb Hart. Don't Get Distracted. All right. Future me. Write that down and I'll. Hearth. Hearth. Like hearth and home. Okay. Thank you for that. Any other hand? Yeah. Oh wow. We got a few hands. Yes, I saw yours.
We've seen a lot of situations recently where unethical or illegal things happen that require someone to sign off on, and they resign instead of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to not really do anything.
Yeah.
Anymore. Do you see that being like a shift where that seeing someone else, absolutely say no?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. The point of, and this is in many ways not just corporate America, but you're probably talking about the public sector, especially now, where it used to be possible for a senior official or a senior person being told to do something blatantly illegal or unconstitutional or unethical, and then they would very publicly resign. And this used to make headlines. That's before we had 8 million insanity headlines every day, where like everything just kicks down on the new and below the fold. Does it make a difference anymore? It feels like it doesn't, right? It feels like, okay, so you're not in the job anymore. They're just going to hire someone else who's going to do it. Or if you stay in the job and just delay and like, well, I won't actually send that, you're just going to eventually get fired 6 weeks from now, and then somebody else will do it. I'm not going to say anything legally actionable. I mean, I feel like at some levels, on some point in the fight, you're like, oh, wow, that sounds like a very good plan, Mr. President. So yes, I'll definitely do that. And you like literally go and firebomb a place instead with your credentials before they revoke your badge. That's a totally hypothetical thing in Minecraft. Yeah, like ultimately, your choices are to do the evil thing or not. And I think there's how doth it matter how a man fall? When the fall is all that's left, it matters a great deal. And the way in which you resign and the way in which you go out, you still have a choice on that. Yeah, that's my best answer on that one. There was a hand here, but then was there? Okay, yes, and then I'll pivot. Yes.
So that person stepping down, it did have beneficial value for them.
Yeah.
And this also dovetails like off of Susan's presentation where they said you've got to look after yourself. There is
Yeah.
that.
It may not change the system, but choosing to say no and saying no, deuces, I'm going to dip. It still changes the person, and it doesn't chip one more inch away from them, and it leaves them still in the fight for the next thing that they might get tapped for or not. I like that very much. Yes. A story, do indeed tell. Would you like a mic? I think we might have. Does this one work? I don't know. We'll see. Oh, there's a little flippy. Go for it.
So this talk hit pretty fucking hard for me. I didn't get like we talked about this, but I didn't get the full context behind this talk. And I have to be careful about what I say here. So some of you might see me pausing to figure out my words. When I was in college, I got offered an internship at MITRE. For those of you who don't really know what MITRE is, you might have heard of them in the CD program and the ATTACK program. They do a lot more. And as I did research, I found out they did a lot more. And I talked to folks that I knew at EFF. I talked to folks that I knew at tour and stuff like that. I was like, hey, I'm being offered this internship. MITRE does a lot of really shady shit. Should I take it? And they said, yeah, it'll just be an internship. Like, and I think part of it was like, oh, you're just gonna be an intern. What's the worst that can fucking happen?
Mm-hmm.
And so I joined, and within about 2 or 3 weeks, my project shifts. And I am doing vulnerability analysis and finding vulnerabilities in novel hardware. And I didn't know who this was for. I was under the impression that it was going to be reporting to the company that makes the hardware. And then I find things. I find a lot of things. And my TSSCI clearance goes in, and I find out who we're making this for. And it's a 3-letter agency.
Mm-hmm.
And with the knowledge that I had, I knew exactly what this was going to be used for. And my internship had been extended from just a 3-month internship into a full-time while in school or part-time while in school. And then when I found out, I left. That was like my low point. That was my boundary. I cannot work for this. I cannot do this. But my work is still there. And I have been told by people I work with, yeah, we're still finding vulnerabilities because of the stuff that you did. And I had panic attacks for 3 months after I left.
Mm-hmm.
It was intense. It was probably the lowest point of my life. For those of you that don't know, I'm Palestinian, and like the context of where this work was going to go, like hit me hard.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I was a student internship. Like, what's the worst that can happen? And I hit sort of the worst that could happen, and so that affected me a lot. And hearing the get out,
You did. And for those who don't know her, the battles you have fought since then have made 10, if not 100-fold impact in the world, far greater than anything that you still worry about. And you'll carry with you, and that's okay too. We are made of many pieces, and none of us is any one thing. All the things I've ever known about you, I've loved and appreciated, including that story. Thank you. How are we doing on our time? We're just getting 1 or 2 more and then we're kind of it? What do you think? That's a hard one to follow, I think, right there.
We have 20 minutes.
Okay.
This is a record for getting off stage.
I know. I did it for you. I pruned and trimmed and I want to just the message and not a lot of. Usually, there's more laughs. I think in my talks. I don't know. Anyone else? All right, we'll go you and then you.
I would say that the message that joining organizations to change them from the inside also would apply to government as well, and making sure that there's representation and accountability.
Mm-hmm. There was an amazing like thought experiment. It's a very you'd be surprised. It came up like in an anarchist circle, and they were like, "What would you do if you woke up tomorrow and you were like magic fairy dust on the city council, or you were the mayor?" And half the people were all like, "I would hang myself," and like other people like, "No, like that's what you would actually do, or would you use this one opportunity to actually say, hey, could I change this policy? Could I change this? Could I eliminate? Could I just like march all the police down to the pier and drive the cars into the ocean and then like tell them, okay, you work at a pizza parlor now, like you could do that. It's mayor for a day. Who cares?" So yeah, without people joining any of the ranks of our public sector, things will never change.
I'll follow up on that one real quick. I was a contractor for the Department of Veteran Affairs, and you'd be surprised at how passionate the contractors were for the mission, while the employees couldn't care less. Sometimes, some of them did, but that's very true. But I was wondering if you could expand more on the idea of like a high point in corporate America, like other than just hitting like, oh, I've got X amount of money in my 401k.
Like as an individual, you're saying I might exit because I'm at my high point and I've done it. Like
Yeah, you clearly find a lot of low points.
Yeah.
Or negatives. What's the worst?
Yeah, I feel like because there was a joke. It was like an article in the Onion once. It was like Dell computer has record year, hits all goals, shuts down. like, um, like again, the company has to go on without you. But I also think there's something to be said of, and again, like Nate and his platoon. You got to look out for your battle buddies, right? Like, are you leaving behind a lot of loose ends and mess? Like, are you? I think academia works is a good analogy here. There's a lot of people that you'll see in the academic space who are just you're a fossil. How are you still here? And someone was like, well, yeah, nobody else actually is studying the mating habits of this particular like species of butterfly that happens to be very understudied, and he's the only one who does it. Maybe we'll get some, but until someone will pick that, mantle up, still here. So recruiting and mentoring a lot of the right people around you to make sure that things that matter to you are going to live on without you. It's kind of one of the reasons, like, oh, let me just be a white boy with a microphone and make it about me. It's one of the reasons that like I push so hard to publish everything I do, and like I'm recording this nonsense and putting it online. Like, if I died tomorrow, it wouldn't be really a problem for me. Like there are times when like the plane is taking off these days. And I'm like, imagine if there was just like a real bad flame out and we just pitched and rolled in the earth. I would just look out the window and be like, oh, thank Christ. It's like we're not going to get into where I am right now, but like I've left behind everything kind of documented, like the projects are all available. And if you want to keep doing what I do, like I haven't left anything locked up inside. You get me if you look at me. Like here's all my shit. It's all there. Okay. That is what I would say is part of the goal. Have you been able to leave an environment that whatever you care about will continue on even if you were gone? Whether it's because you hit the money and you retired out, or you hit the bus on the city corner and retired out. Like one way or another, will you exist in terms of effort and values after you, the human, is no longer metabolizing and breathing oxygen? Best answer. This is dark. I'm not even drunk. What are we doing up here? Anybody else want a downer? Anybody want a downer? There we go. We got two hands close up here and one over here. I saw yonder, and then I can just shout if yours is. You want the mic, or you can pass it down. Yeah. Pass it on down. Oh, we heard you. I'm gonna get back to you. We'll pass one over here, and then. Sorry. I want new voices. I promise it's gonna come right back to you.
Thank you. I want to say I don't mean to be too doom and gloom, but I've been accused of being nihilistic. I believe I'm just a realist. We might be the most nihilistic kind of take ever, but your premise, I agree with it that, like reaching out, trying to like set up this framework of a path bound. But you address it. We are idealistic, and I think to a certain degree you are potentially being, where it's like I feel like when is evil ever going to stop happening? Like, I mean, the war is happening.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about being pro war and being against war. It's like, are you pro money or not pro money? Because it's going to happen regardless of whether or not you're there. I mean, the institutions haven't been changing since people have talked about it from the beginning. I mean, like for me personally, I mean, even before I graduated, I was thinking, oh, I'm never going to do this, I'm never going to do that. And now here I am working in a company that's in the supply chain of defense contractors. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, okay, well, I'm already here. Screw it. Let's keep going. Let's see where this trade goes. Right? But
Yeah.
I don't. What do you think about the idea of like the idea
Mm-hmm.
of sickness and hope? That to do. Oh, sorry, but that's really the question.
Someone very smart, way smarter than me, talked about hope once. And she said, always hold hope. And when you can't hold it, I'll hold it for you. Which is, again, why none of us as an individual and our communities and the people around us with whom we are in community matter. And I'll reference another, like, there's a joke on the internet. Deviant, nobody knows Deviant, but Deviant knows everybody. So, like, Penn Jillette, the performer, right? Like, I'm like one removed from Penn. I was invited to his house to pick a lock on this old trunk that he hasn't gotten open. I haven't gotten there yet. But like Penn Jillette once said, there are two constants throughout all of human history. Things are always getting better, and it always feels like they're getting worse. And the example that he sort of made, he was pulling out different examples, and we could say, think about right now, we're worried about, let's say, women's rights, whether that's reproductive freedom, choice, job opportunities, etc., all the misogyny. Like, the conversation about women's rights right now is terrible. The conversation surrounding civil rights right now is a conversation that I'm certain you are very mindful of. And you might say, God, these things have been backsliding. Oh my God. These weren't conversations 75 years ago, 100 years ago. They weren't even ideas of like, holy shit, what if women had freedom? Like, yeah, what if certain people didn't own other people? Like, which, by the way, slavery is not over even in this country, right? Why does slavery still exist in this country? It was not what amendment abolished slavery? Yes, absolutely. Indentured servitude and slavery still exists for incarceration. That's why you want to abolish some prisons. Who's with me? Yes. But these weren't conversations we were having. The fact that we can still talk about how bad it feels means the needle is moving. And there's another famous phrase, on a long enough timeline, we win. I'd like to be around for it. I'm trying to stay healthy enough. I don't know if I will be. She will be, or somebody you raise will be. That's why it's important. Love you too. Go ahead, please. We'd skipped around you. And then there was a hand right. Go ahead. Yes, they're right there. Sure, dig it.
Sorry, that's their climber. I'm sorry.
The fence climbers.
Fence climber, yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to know if you had any cool stories of
Yeah, literally. I was just on a job up in New England, critical infrastructure break-in. I won't say. The guards were armed, like that kind of place. And the companies they were blown away about the fence climbers. And they had shake sensors. They had leaky coax on the fence. They had microwave at a different site. But I was like, yeah, let's actually just show, because the way they tested climbing a fence, the actual, like the sensor, the industry standard is punch, punch, kick, kick. And does it resonate? Does it sense that? Because that's what a person like scrambling over a fence would do. We put our fence climbers on, and the act of hanging them didn't set it off. There's another company, Magnosphere, their sensors did pick it up when I tried with them. But yeah, hanging the fence climbers didn't do it. And all right, so if I put my weight on it and I did it really carefully, and this was during the ascent, they're like, hey, okay, zone 3, you see nothing? Nothing on zone 3. Really? It's a big fucking guy. You don't see anything? Because I'm not a small dude, right? So I had to like climb a couple steps up on the fence climbers and kind of really, I had to almost be getting over the fence. And they were like, okay, yeah, it's lighten up. And again, everything's a balance. I'm not saying their sensors are bad, because if the wind blows and you get a billion alerts that are nothing, it's going to be alert fatigue. But yeah, I literally just flew here from a job, And that's where we're using them. So yeah, I like the new fence climbers. Proud of those. Anybody else?
Got two more this time.
Make sure, even if you're in the back, wave it around if you're in the back. But yeah, we got another that's going to come up to you. Yeah.
Change the things up. What's one thing that's been making you happy recently?
Ooh.
Oh, Christ. Why do you give me the hardest question at the end? Is that still recording? I'm embarrassing myself with this. The question was, what is making me happy these days? I mean, being here with y'all. There's a reason. Yeah, you make me happy. And you do too. And you. And like all of you that I know. Yeah. The people who matter to you, showing up for them. That's why. Yeah. I thought about not being around recently. I was like, how would that go? And it didn't seem like a bad thing. But I would miss a lot of you, and you would miss me. Yeah. Was that a happy answer? Then I made it sad. I know. But the end, what, am I still here though, right? Am I still here? Yeah. As our friend Lily says, never kill yourself. It's always a better choice. Stick around. Yay, happy answer. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you mind sharing some of the things that are in your positive letter of resignation?
Yeah. It sounds silly. The question was, what is like in my positive stopping condition? They're like, I'm sorry, like we're all doing a capitalism out here. It's money. Like I have a number, and like you do the budget. You're like, all right, this is what rent costs. This is what food costs. I want to have enough budget to travel to like 2 different places a month if I want to forever. And you do the budget. And you say, if this much is in the bank and this much with financial instruments and you expected rate of return, and here's what interest rates are doing, like I say you, like as if I did it, like Tara did all this math. But like that was called goal B. And it was like, that is like, no, stop working, dipshit. And that is tied very closely because my companies are very small. We are very small shops. Like if I just hit the lottery tomorrow and I was like, wow, goal B, look at that. And I wouldn't march through the doors and be like, hey, everybody, peace off. Like I'm gone, because I'd be screwing everyone else, right? So building up a deep bench in a way that my work can continue onward if I weren't around, whether it's because a plane crashed or it's because I want to just literally do what I want to do. Leaving behind, it's kind of like leaving behind a better planet. Like you want to leave behind conditions that the people coming after you can still enjoy and do the things that they want to enjoy and do, so that they can hit their goal B, and then their kids can hit their goal B, and on and on. So yeah, I got a number in mind, and I would only exit out if I knew that the companies could keep doing the things that matter to me, even if I weren't there. That's the hard one. There's a hand, yep.
Do you have any advice for building up the courage to leave a bad situation? Because I feel like people in my generation are very scared to leave jobs. At some points, even when they are really, really bad, just because it's so uncertain and so unstable out there.
Yeah, having the courage to leave, it's not just, well, my values said this and I wrote myself this letter, so I got to hold to it. Like, again, I like money is exchanged for goods and services, and I need a roof over my head, and I like, obviously, food. The first things first is always keep in mind that is by design that people feel this pressure. The system is the reason you don't have like universal health care is to keep you running around like a scared rabbit, terrified to leave or lose your job. The reason that you don't talk about salaries, or supposedly you're not supposed to talk about salaries, is because the bosses don't care about you and they don't want you agitating for better conditions. So even awareness of that, being like, why is everything so terrifying? Oh, that's right, it's supposed to be because people are awful at the top. That equips you to like go in with that. You're like, I'm not doing something wrong. I am under these stressful conditions, not because I'm screwing up, but because this pressure is being intentionally put upon me. You could almost think of it as like, how do people leave abusive situations? Like intimate partner abuse. Well, great topics again, right? It's because they have a safe place to go. It's a place that they know that for a month or two, they're not going to be like doing survival work or something. They're not going to be like hungry. Tell your friends and loved ones right now, hey, I know that my office in my house is like an office, That's where I work. But we put a couch in there that pulls out, or we put a Murphy bed in there, which literally my office has a Murphy bed in it. Tell your friends and loved ones for any reason whatsoever, if you can, like your own levels of acceptance for what you can bear in your home is your home. No questions asked. Like you, and you, and you in my life, you could show up on my door unannounced, and you've got a place to be for a month, 2 months. You name it, right? You can say, we have enough that you can at least have some food with us, and we're not going to make sure you're not starving. And ideally, the other people in your life would say, you know what? My couch maybe isn't as comfy as yours, but I got you too. And that can apply whether you are in a acute crisis, like, hey, wow, I got an angry ex, I got a stalker, I got, Fash who doxed me and they're coming by my house, I just got to get out of town. That could be that, or it could be like, you know what? I need a reset, and what I'm doing is awful, and I just have to be out of that situation. I'm in the storm of it. I just need to not be doing this right now. That giving you the immediate care, the immediate mutual aid, and then continuing to show up and run and participate in events like these. Because having those opportunities, they come from not like a resume that you're pushing out to recruiter sites. Most of the people that you see at these events, they're getting jobs and opportunities because somebody talked to somebody who knew somebody who met them in line for the Greek food at lunch. That's why I show up and fly a billion miles and stick my head in and, like, you name it. I just say yes to being at events like this, and I want to see more events like this, because that is how we show up for each other. That is how we provide the opportunities for each other. You might think, you're like, oh my God, I'm so terrified that what if I need a job? Start looking for a job before you need a job. Reach out to others, but just see what's out there. When you talk to people like, hey, what's going on? How you been? Which is, the social, like, oh, I'm fine. Which many of you have come up to me, like, how you doing? I'd be like, bad. Nope, not doing good. We're not going to get into it, but I'm not going to give you the fake answer anymore. Literally, you can tell people, yeah, I'm doing okay, but I could be happier. What's going on with you? Do you have it? Like, you're not going to get fired for having a private conversation with colleagues. And if people know that you might be gettable, that you might be interested in something else, you'd be surprised at someone's like, you know what? We should ask her if we could. You think we could get her? You never know. It's way better to be having those conversations when you still have a paycheck than when you don't. Yeah. I hope my answer's somewhere in there. It's a little something. It's a good question.
On that note, I'm going to say thank you so much. You are one of our greatest friends. You can add this fine gift to your library.
What do we have here? Ooh, that is really nice. The Brotherhood with the Aviators by Griffin. Thank you very, very much. And thank you all for being here. I appreciate you very much.
We have a session of raffle and prizes coming up. But while they do that, I just want to say this event would not happen without Noob and Chuck.